I've been traveling, putting the miles on the truck, and but what I'm learning is going all up and down this district is that we uniquely have different problems in every portion of the area, right? So like in Bakersfield, we really want to focus on our small and big businesses, but as well as our oil industry. Our oil industry is suffering because of overregulation, and we should be one of the most prosperous counties truly in the country. When it comes to more in the central and the agricultural part of the district, we need water and sustainable water. All of these issues we're familiar with, and as I mentioned before, we have some really smart people in this state. We have some really smart people in this country. I just don't understand why we're not coming together for some good, reasonable conclusions, reasonable decisions, and that's what becomes frustrating. I think that's what becomes frustrating for not only just me as a father and a husband and a family member and a member of the community, but my frustrations I share with the people that are in this district.
What is your experience in canvassing? I imagine many of the people behind you hadn't met you until today, and yet they're standing behind you for an interview. What does that say about your experience so far on the trail across this huge district?
Well, what I'm seeing is once people hear me and they see what I stand for and that I'm really truly talking from the heart, that they get behind me. They get behind me and they support me and they believe in what I'm talking about, because what I'm saying is what people really feel, what they really believe in. And sometimes in politics, the only time that you get to hear the candidate is in a soundbite on a TV commercial. And what I'm trying to do is get to as many people as I can, shake their hands so they know me and what I'm talking about from the heart.
What does your immediate impact on Washington, D.C. look like, if there is one? Now, you talked today, of course, in this speech as well. It doesn't happen overnight. What are your goals when you first get there?
Well, what I want to do initially when I go in, much as like I did as sheriff, you got to go in and establish a good core group of people who are going to support you. I would argue that we find that within the Republican Party. But we also have a large portion of moderate Democrats that just want to work hard for America. And oftentimes what we see in the news is really spotlighting on those characters that become more of a show than they are problem solving. So what I want to be able to do is go in and share alliances with not only the Democrat Party on the other side of the aisle, but for those within the Republican Party where we're all just really wanting to do good work for the districts we represent. And how you do that is you go in and you establish those relationships as well as go and visit the other districts. You know, I want people to come and visit this district and visit Kern County and understand why we are so supportive of our oil industry. I want them to go into Tulare County and understand the need and the importance of water. I want them to go into the high desert when we're talking about Ridgecrest and Rosemont. They're really suffering from a water crisis up there, as well as keeping our military bases open. All of these issues are uniquely different within all the cities within this district, but yet they're all very much alike when it comes to the people. And what they're wanting is a good, strong economy. They're wanting a good, safe America, and they're just wanting people and families to be able to thrive. And I guess it's frustrating for me, and I think it resonates with the people I talk with, that they're equally as frustrated and are ready for change.
Now, when you're going to Washington, assuming you're elected, you're going to be in a majority, which isn't necessarily the case for Republicans in California, but does that make it easier for you to work with Democrats because you're in their position when you're here in this state?
I don't think anything that we're anticipating going into is going to be easy. I think that there's going to be incredible challenges there. Going in as a freshman congressman, I think there's going to be challenges. But what I do take to the table is real life experiences where I can talk about those living in poverty. I can talk about the funerals that I've been at of those who have been shot and killed by those coming across the border. I, as the sheriff, don't get to pick between a Democrat and Republican. I have to go in and look out for the overall good and safety of the people. And one of the issues that faces all of us is our out-of-control crime across this country, especially here in California, but it's also uniquely across the country where we're not holding criminals accountable, and I think people have had it.
You addressed this in your speech today, but also what voters are you looking to pick up in this canvassing, especially when another topic you addressed as well, people are going to say, and definitely the Kern County Republican Party is going to say, this is a Bakersfield and Kern County seat. You're from Tulare County.
Right. I'm from Tulare County, but I have family here. I visit often. I think once you hear me speak, you realize that I'm not the outsider. I'm really for the people. And I think sometimes what happens, though, is that we haven't really seen representation in Tulare, Kings, and Fresno, and Clovis. We very rarely see the representative that was elected into this position. What I want to be able to do is break down those walls and bring all of us together. I want Tulare and Kings and Fresno County all to work hand in hand with Kern County and make that streamline of good businesses up and down the Central Valley working for a common good when it comes to our water, when it comes to our oil. All of those issues can be addressed if we unify as a district.
Can you talk a little bit about your solutions versus the problems? You addressed that again today, and we haven't heard quite as much from Vince Vaughn. And also, when you tend to align yourself with Donald Trump as he has and Kevin McCarthy, you're all of a sudden in a position with a lot of different people who are talking maybe about the same policies and positions. Do you feel like you have more freedom with the fact that maybe you don't have those endorsements?
Well, the endorsements that I do have are from people that I've worked with, where I have a proven track record, where they know what I represent. And I think we've talked about this before. Endorsements are important. I would say that the Trump endorsement did hurt a little bit when it comes to the voters, and that's taken some time to get over that. Once people see that really the person best fit for the position is going to be someone who's endorsed by those who live and work here, I think that carries more weight, actually. The problem is being able to get that message to as many people as we can to understand that of the two candidates, we're both Republicans, but we uniquely bring different things to the table for sure.
I reached out to you on the day that he endorsed Vince Vaughn, and you said you look forward to working with Donald Trump when you're elected to Congress.
Sure.
Can you talk about that response and what that means?
Well, and I think that this race isn't over. You know, a lot of people put us out of the loop of this race because the amount of money and the machine that they call it that's pushing against us when it comes to getting into this position. But quite frankly, I think Donald Trump is the best suited person for the presidency of the United States. I think our commander-in-chief has failed us. I think Donald Trump has, like me, a proven track record where he'll go in there and work really hard for the better of America and for the safety of Americans, securing our border. A lot of those things I believe in as well. But what the opponent in this race does not bring is that I have dealt with those living in poverty. I have gone and helped people in poverty. I have been to the funerals of those who are impacted by an open and unsecure border. I have actually been to the border working with Border Patrol and Homeland Security, not just going down there for a picture and a sound bite. I've been doing it for 38 years. And so what I bring to the table are those real life experiences where I can talk about the decisions being made in Congress will be, look, why are we sending this amount of money to Ukraine when we have people who are suffering, not eating every day in my district? And those are the types of stories that we take back to Washington, hopefully to get people to listen that this out of control spending is impacting real lives.
What about the argument of you can walk and chew gum at the same time? If someone brings that up to you, they say, we can fund Ukraine, we can fund your district.
Well, the hardest part about funding Ukraine, I think, for me is look, I've been a cop a long time, and we always use the doesn't pass the smell test. So when we first went into Ukraine, all of us humanitarily thought that we needed to go in and help save lives, right? Because that Russia was going in and bombing innocent people and killing innocent people. But the more we get into this venture, we find that Zelensky, who's in a war-torn country, somehow safely lands at the White House asking for money, and yet we don't really even fully understand where we're at with this war. And more money is being punched into a war that we just truly don't understand. And I would push back and fight and say, look, if we're truly there for a real reason, then we need to notify the American people as to what those reasons are. Right now, I'm confused. I think many people behind me here in this interview are confused. Why are we there? Why are we there when we have people who are coming across an open, unsecure border from countries that just want to kill us? And so we need to think about the safety of America first. And so, yeah, money coming to my district will be very, very important, but I won't lose sight of the standards that I set and the promises that I've made.
How do you tell people that you are going to fund Israel and their battle, but not Ukraine?
Well, Israel truly is a proven track record of being an ally for the United States. And they're surrounded by 22 other countries that want to annihilate them off the face of the earth. And they have been with us. And what people forget, and what the news doesn't really report, is when you've had heads chopped off of small children and thrown in the street, when you've had women that are raped and their heads cut off and thrown in the middle of the street. This is active terrorism. And so we can't support any acts of terrorism. And what's very well known by these 22 other terroristic organizations in these 22 countries surrounding Israel, they've made it very clear that once they annihilate Israel and wipe them off the face of the earth, is how they put it, is that the second Israel is next. The United States of America is considered by those terroristic organizations as the second Israel. That's the real reason we need a strong and secure border.
How are you different from Vince Vaughn as it relates to maybe working with Mike Johnson, someone who wants to put forward funding for Ukraine? You said you're going to put your foot down and say no. How do you work with him on issues other than that, and do you still have support for him should he be elected into office?
Well, I really believe that we need to support the Speaker of the House. I think that it doesn't unify the party whatsoever. I don't like to see this fragmentation that takes place. But I'm just one vote. If I go in and argue my position in points, and the unanimous vote is for a different way of going things, my vote will still count for the district. And I will work with Mike Johnson or anyone else that's sitting there. They're just men, they're just women. They're not carrying any more superhero power than I am. We're going in and working for the same things. We're just human beings who put our pants on the same way. And I'll go in and fight. I have grit. I have fought for issues facing my county as well as the Central Valley before, and I'll continue to do that sitting over there as a representative.
Now, I've made this mistake several times before of asking a man of faith, simply how does faith affect your policy? And of course, I say keep it short. You can't ask that question.
It's hard.
How does faith affect your policy, and what did tonight mean for you?
Well, being invited by the pastor and the church meant an incredible amount of backing for me. The reason for that is because, I believe, truly that this country was founded on God, a faith system, a belief system, a prayer system. And so for me, I pray about everything. I prayed out in the lobby before I came in and spoke tonight, just asking that I have the right words that are resonating with people, and that really God's work and God's will be done. Now, does that mean that I win this race? That's not what it means. But what it means is that I've been obedient to the calling, and that I seek Him for guidance each and every day. What does that mean for the future? I don't know what that means. But I can tell you for tonight, these are the words that were meant to be spoken.
Do you pray for your opponents in this race?
I did. I actually prayed for all 11, and I pray for Vince Fong. We're to love one another, not tear each other down. And so let the voters decide. Let the voters decide what the best background is, not based on sound bites, not based on rhetoric, and not based on lies. Let's just have a gentleman's race and let the voters decide what the best candidate is representing them in Congress.
This is about as red a district as it comes. That said, 30% of the vote was still for Democrats. What about your message is appealing for Democrat voters who are somewhat undecided, who feel like maybe they don't have a candidate in this race?
Well, to all the Democrats that are out there, they believe in a safe America as well. And so for me as the law and order candidate, I'm going in to make our parks safe, our churches safe, our grocery stores safe. We're going to hold criminals accountable. And that, I think, is important to everybody, not just a party. You want your children safe. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You want your children safe. And so that's what I represent. And to the Democrats out there, I think I represent things differently when it comes to those living here in the Central Valley, when it comes to immigration and immigration reform. I also think that I represent the law and order safety candidate. And so if you want a safer district, then Mike Boudreaux's your vote.
I know we've addressed this issue before, but it is the name ID, it's the ad spending, and of course it's the machine of the Kevin McCarthy that you're going up against. How do you overcome that? I imagine nights like this help.
I don't know that we overcome it. It's a pretty hefty machine. There's a lot of money going in behind that are coming. The money's coming from out of district. It's not within the district. My money's coming within the district. And so what I do and what I try to do is just shake hands with many people as I can, speak to a large congregation like I did today, and hopefully family and friends spread that word. If Vince is the victor come Tuesday of next week, then I'll support Vince, and that's what the voters decide, and we'll help move our country in a positive way. I think you have two quality candidates here, not one better or worse than the other, but very different backgrounds, a different way of approaching things for sure. Vince has been in the assembly for 8 years, I think it is, and I'm not really sure what, if anything, he's accomplished there, but I can tell you what I've accomplished in 38 years in law enforcement, and that's making people safer.
And last couple questions for you. I know you addressed this again in your speech tonight. The amnesty candidate has been thrown on you for some time. I've talked to you about this before. We've aired it before, but you really have a different approach. And as you said, you maybe have solutions where your other candidate doesn't. Can you speak on that? And then also what was maybe a bit of a snub by your definition, as far as the National Border Patrol Council was concerned?
I've been down with the Border Patrol for multiple years. I have many friends that are on the Border Patrol as well as Homeland Security. I've worked with directors of Homeland Security here in the Central Valley, and so I know the real issues facing our border. If you're going down just for a picture and a sound bite and look good on a commercial, that's different than real life. I've been down there and dealt with people coming across the border who have migrated into the Central Valley. And so how do we deal with the millions of people coming across that border? I've said it once and I'll say it again, that Mexico is our ally. Mexico is not our enemy. who our enemy is, and I said it tonight, is cartels, human traffickers, our drug runners, our gun runners. So that's our enemy. We should be working with Mexico to not only secure the border with a strong wall and a good security system, but we should be working with them to eliminate the cartels, get rid of the illegal fentanyl drug runners coming into this country. That's our real issue. When we have people here in this country that are here, not at no fault of us, that because of an open and unsecure border. Well, you got millions of people here. You got to tackle it one person at a time. You need to evaluate each of them one at a time. For those that are here working and thriving and not committing crimes, then provide a judicial process where they're identified and they have a paperwork system and they go through a judge and a process. But for those that are here that are committing felonious crimes, egregious crimes, they've got to go. They got to leave right away. And then our system needs to be set up where if you come across that border a second time, there needs to be a very accountable punishment for that. So if you're sneaking across the border, I would argue that it's a minimum 5-year federal prison sentence because you come across and we have systems in place that allow you to come legally.
And last question for you. If Tuesday is not your night,
sure,
what does that look like? And if Tuesday is your night, what does that look like?
Well, if Tuesday's not our night, obviously our campaign will take a look at what the future looks like. Depending on what the numbers are and how they look, you know, the next few months will be a challenge to say the least if he wins and goes in as the incumbent congressperson. And then as well as for me, I believe that we must unify the party, we must unify the country, and we must unify the district. Does that mean that two Republicans go against each other, battling to the end? I don't know that that's the best answer. I'll have to think about that. If I go in victorious, I would hope that Vince would do the same.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Murcia with Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on YouTube. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel where we have tons of great content to choose from. While you're here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button right there. That way you can stay up to date on all the things related within Kern County. Thanks for watching.